So in part 1 of this video, we discussed Josh Gordon's childhood and his college days and how he became an addict. Like, if you haven't seen that video, I highly recommend checking that one out first. Link for that is gonna be in the description. Hopefully YouTube pop it up on the side, but you never really know. This video, part 2, is gonna focus on Josh Gordon's NFL career. We're gonna talk about the record-setting 2013 season, his multiple rehab stints, his friendship with Johnny Manziel, and how it all ultimately led to him being out of the league. Now, I already know y'all gonna have some opinions on this, so if you wanna argue in the comments section, that's cool, but let's be respectful. But if that ain't enough and you just one of them cats that love to debate and argue about football, I got something for you. Go holler at my boys over at Amino. They got you covered. Amino is essentially an app with a huge collection of communities, right? Like, they got a community for everything. So whether you love anime, you a hip hop head, or both, it's a community of people on the Amino app already talking about it, and you could be a part of that community. Now, I get the feeling that the Gridiron Amino community is gonna be the one for y'all. Get the latest football news, take football related quizzes and polls. There's even live chat if you ain't got nobody to watch the game with. Now, this stuff is user generated, so you can create your own post, and have people participate in those as well. With that being said, I want y'all to come through and check out this poll I posted on Josh Gordon. I simply asked people what they thought would happen to Josh Gordon in the future. Would he make a comeback, turn his life around, or would he continue down the same path? Right now, almost 80% of the people who voted think Josh is gonna make something positive out of his life. That's dope. I want y'all's opinion, so make sure you come through. All you need to do is click the link in the description or click the pinned comment at the top of the comment section. You can even go old school and just search up Amino in your app store, type in the community that you're looking for, and find it like that. Either way, you winning. And we'll end with another shout out to today's video sponsor, Amino. Much love to those guys for supporting the channel. Let's go. By 2011, Josh Gordon had been kicked out of Baylor for failing multiple drug tests. Shortly after transferring, he was then sent home from Utah after failing yet another drug test. He decided to enter the NFL supplemental draft. The 6'3", 224-pound wide receiver ran a 4.52, working out for NFL teams. The ex-track star had pretty good burners regardless to a lack of preparation, but his hamstring muscles weren't quite ready for the workload as he tweaked one of them towards the end of his run. The 4.5 was a little bit slower than teams expected, but nonetheless, the Cleveland Browns had seen enough and they decided to take Josh with the second pick in the 2012 supplemental draft. Yo, quick side note, I'm thinking of doing a video on some of the notable players that have come to the league through the supplemental draft and kind of explaining what the supplemental draft is, how it came to be, and all of that. If you're interested in that, man, just let me know in the comments section. Moving on. Now, there were plenty of red flags for Josh Gordon coming into the league. His history with marijuana was well documented, but obviously teams didn't really know about all the other drugs he had been experimenting with. Also, I don't think they really understood just how long Josh had been struggling with his drug issues. I mean, since the 7th grade. Josh had passed a random drug test a couple of weeks before the supplemental draft, and you know, that was enough for the Browns. He also scored a respectable 24 on the Wonderlic exam. And let's keep it a buck. Dude was big, strong, could run, and had hands, so yeah, they took a chance. The Browns' gamble on Josh seemed to pay off in 2012 when the rookie wide receiver hit the ground running. He made 50 catches for 805 yards and 5 touchdowns. Being able to perform on cue at a high level is usually due to an insane amount of preparation and repetition. Because of the repetition part of that, many NFL players have these rituals that they stick to regardless. Curtis Martin used to read the Bible before games. John Henderson would let a trainer slap him in the face before games. Odell does his one-handed catches. And Ravens safety Eric Weddle always celebrates with a different type of ice cream after wins. Josh Gordon, well, if you watch part 1, you should already know his ritual. But if you don't, here's a quote. We would stay at a team hotel. Then the players are allowed to go back home, get what they need, then go to the game. So I'd leave the hotel early morning, go home, eat breakfast, do my little ritual, whatever it might be, you know, some weed, some alcohol, then go to the game. And then I'm definitely gonna be partying after every game, win or lose. Every game. Josh would later refer to himself as a highly functioning alcoholic and addict. This man said that he had something in his system, from alcohol, drugs, something, for every game of his career, including every game in his legendary season that we're about to talk about. 2013. 2013 was the season that allowed us to get a glimpse of just how great Josh Gordon could really be. Let's start with the fact that dude was suspended for the first 2 games, substance abuse policy, y'all already know. First game back, 10 catches for 146 yards and a touchdown. He went over 100 yards in 6 different games that year. Hell, he went over 200 yards in 2 different games that year, putting up 237 yards versus Pittsburgh, then putting up 261 the following week versus Jacksonville, making him the first player in league history with back-to-back 200-yard receiving games. That is insane. The highly functioning alcoholic and addict became the only player in NFL history to record back-to-back 200-yard receiving games. That is wild, man. Josh led the league in receiving yards despite missing 2 games, despite catching passes from mediocre quarterbacks like Jason Campbell, Brandon Weeden, Brian Hoyer. He did it despite the fact that Antonio Brown, Calvin Johnson, AJ Green all had amazing seasons that year. He led the league despite the fact that he wasn't even top 10 in reception. And he did it in spite the fact that he was intoxicated every game. Okay? The following year, the inevitable happened. Josh was once again suspended after being arrested for a DUI. He was suspended for a full season initially, but it was later dropped to 10 games. So while Josh barely played in 2014, he did meet a guy who would become one of his best friends, Johnny Manziel. These two formed a bond as they've both dealt with substance abuse issues and are both pro football players and both played with the Browns, and yeah, friendship makes sense. And on some levels, I'm sure it's good to have somebody you can relate to, especially to that degree. On the other hand, things could get out of hand. For example, one time Josh picked Manziel up in West Hollywood after Johnny was in a car accident. Johnny was fine, okay, cool, boy came to pick him up, normal friend stuff. But then they went to a Hollywood Hills mansion, and apparently that mansion got completely trashed during 2 days of non-stop partying. They used partying a lot, which I guess just means there was music and other people, but they was getting high. Anyway, at the end of it all, Johnny ended up getting sued by the owner. So I guess he was the one that had rented the crib. When Josh was asked about it, he said that he could not recall if he was there or not. And he's probably not lying. Their time being suspended from the Browns would often overlap, and they would spend a lot of that time hanging out together for better or for worse. On the bright side, it's nice that they could have a workout whenever they wanted to. You got an NFL wide receiver and an NFL quarterback hanging out, but the reality of it is they probably weren't working out that much. They've stayed in touch over the years and both seem to be doing better today, as Johnny is in the CFL and Josh was with the Patriots until recently. We'll get to that in a minute. I'll say this, you don't make a lot of genuine friends in your life, and going through hardships together definitely builds bonds. That's why you and your college roommate will likely forever be boys or enemies. Y'all either scraped and clawed together and made it, or one of y'all made it and didn't hold the other one down. Now y'all enemies. Anyway, both Josh and Johnny have had to battle hardships throughout their lives. Different kind of hardships, as Johnny's family had money, but still, y'all know what I mean. Now that both guys have had these drug issues, man, they're gonna have to deal with this. They're gonna struggle with this probably for the rest of their lives. Not saying they can't control it, get in front of it, they can, but they're gonna always have to work. But the cool thing is they've supported each other throughout. Here's a quote from Josh on their friendship. It's difficult to take people inside their relationship, but that's one of my good friends. I'm always gonna be there to support him, and that's what I'm trying to do. And that's what he wanted to do for me. We're definitely 2 different people heading down 2 different paths, and we'll all reach our outcome at a different point in time. Josh continued to struggle with his addiction issues and missed the entire 2015 and 2016 seasons due to suspensions. During that time, he had multiple rehab stints that seemed to work for a while, but never really held up. The reason for this is because Josh never took rehab seriously. He basically looked at it like a vacation. Then he would just apply for reinstatement as soon as he could become eligible. Sometimes he'd get lucky and pass a drug test, sometimes he didn't pass it. But to him it was like, whatever. But in 2017, Josh found himself at his lowest point. He recalled wandering the streets in desperation, looking for a fix, just any kind of relief. He was asking random people, knocking on doors. Mind you, it was like 11:30 at night, and no matter how much he looked, That particular night, he could not find anybody with drugs. And I imagine he flipped out, probably through some fits and different things like that, maybe screamed. I don't know what he did, but at some point, something clicked. And Josh had an epiphany. It's like reality just snapped back in and it hit him. Like, bruh, it's dark as hell out here. I'm by myself. Like, what the hell am I doing? Like, those were his exact words, man. What the hell am I doing out here? And for the first time in a long time, that thing that Josh had been running from since he started using drugs way back in middle school, it came back to him in that moment. Fear. See, fear is necessary. You know, a healthy fear. Like, a healthy fear will let you know that you shouldn't be wandering around in the dark looking for drugs. Like, it's not safe. But it was at that point that Josh finally had a desire to get real help and to save his own life. Josh finally had a successful rehab stint and was reinstated into the NFL. He played 5 games for Cleveland in 2017 as he tried to get back into the flow of things. The next year, when Cleveland was featured on Hard Knocks, Josh chose to step away for a bit to focus on his mental health, and upon his return, he only played 1 game before being traded to the New England Patriots. Definitely didn't understand the move at the time. I mean, the Browns had stuck with Josh from 2012 all the way till this season. It's almost like constantly feeding his slot machine, and then, you know, you just get up and the Patriots get to come through and just boop, 1 coin and bam. That's what I was thinking. In hindsight, though, I think the Browns organization, I mean, they've known Josh for years at this point. They knew that he really had not gotten over the issues that he was having. And finally, they decided to go ahead and deal him and get what they could get for him, which was a 5th round pick. This seemed like a huge win for both Josh and for the Patriots. Josh was now playing with one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, and he was going from one of the league's worst organizations to possibly its best. Josh was inconsistent during his time with the Patriots, but he did have 2 games over 100 yards and 1 with 96, so let's call it 3 games with 100 yards. And he had a pretty good season. He totaled over 700 yards and 3 touchdowns in 11 games with the Patriots. Belichick and the New England organization did their best to protect Josh from himself, or better yet, protect their investment. They came up with what they called an elaborate security plan for Josh, kind of similar to the Dez rules, but actually more extreme, like actual guys who follow him around and make sure he doesn't relapse. Now, if you watch just a few Josh Gordon interviews, you'll see he's a very smart, kind of like charming cat, bro. And he's so damn cool, I believe he kind of lulled the security team into complacency. They're thinking, yeah, we're making progress, man. We're building a relationship. We're good. They got a little sloppy during the bye week, and Josh managed to elude them. Next thing they know, he's failing drug tests. So the logical conclusion there is Josh eluded the security team during the bye week, and that was the point that he went and he relapsed. Now, when it happened, it was first reported that Josh would be taking some time off to focus on his mental health. But I'm guessing that was something drummed up by his media-savvy representatives to get out in front of the actual news that Josh had failed multiple drug tests. It was reported that Josh had tested positive for more than marijuana, so it's clear that Josh is still struggling with his demons. So now Josh is out of the league. He's still got his issues, and I don't see how more idle time could possibly help the situation. I don't know what's next for Josh Gordon. I don't know that he'll ever be able to get away from his drug addiction. Hopefully, he can make something positive out of his life. With that being said, he's not banned for life from the NFL, so he could technically still come back, but it gets less and less likely as the wide receiver ages. Not to mention, he's constantly having the same issues, so teams are going to be even more leery than they were before about bringing Josh in. Josh Gordon has lost yet another battle with his addiction, but the war isn't over until he says it is. Yeah.